today I'm going to show you how I make my Christmas cake. This is the same recipe that I use for wedding cakes or celebration cakes. What you're going to need first and foremost is some baking paper, because you need to line the tin very well with this cake because it cooks for quite some time. And Kofa, which is like a sweet vegetable fat that we use in Australia. You're going to need 8 eggs. You're going to need 500 grams of butter, which is that amount. You're going to need 2 cups of brown sugar, about half a cup of marmalade jam. Now any marmalade is fine. If you make your own marmalade, you can even use that. You're going to need some glacé cherries, mixed peel, about 2 kilograms of mixed fruit. You're going to need some plain flour. I like to use a little bit of Parisian essence, and this just makes the cake a little darker. And some mixed spices. You need some alcohol. Now this helps with the preserving of the cake and also adds a terrific flavour to it. So what I've put in this bowl is 2 kilos of mixed fruit, 250 grams of mixed peel and 250 grams of glacé cherries. Now I've cut the cherries into quarters just to make them a little more easily dispersed throughout the cake. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour about half to 1 cup of alcohol over the cake fruit. Now if you don't like rum, you can use brandy, or you can use sherry, you can use whiskey. Any alcohol that you think will enhance the flavour of your cake. So I've roughly chopped my room temperature butter up, and I've just added 2 cups of firmly packed brown sugar. So this is the way the mixture should appear to you once the butter and the brown sugar has been properly blended together. You need it nice and creamy. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add 8 eggs. Now it's a pretty important thing that you add these eggs as quickly as possible, and don't beat too much in between each addition because it will make the mixture curdle. That's normal. Don't be distressed if you see the mixture looking a little bit strange. As you can see, the mixture does look a little bit sloppy. It is curdled, and that's had 8 eggs added to the creamed butter and sugar. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add 2 teaspoons of mixed spices. Now you can add less or more, but it does enhance the flavour of the cake. The next thing to add is about 1/3 of a cup of marmalade. The next thing to add is all the fruit that you put aside with all the alcohol in it. And I'm now going to add that to my creamed butter, sugar and egg mixture. So just stir all that fruit through the creamed mixture, just to coat everything. The next thing to do now is to add 4 cups of plain flour to this mixture. So once you've put the flour into this mixture, you'll see it's very heavy. It's going to be very hard to mix the whole thing together with a spoon, even a wooden spoon. So what I normally recommend and what I do is wash my hands very thoroughly, remove all my jewellery, and then get on in there and mix this together properly. Okay, so that mixture is completely combined, as you can see. Now just get the remnants off your fingers and wash your hands. Now for those of you that do want to use Parisian essence in your cake, now's the time to add it. Just, I don't know, a couple of drops to a teaspoon, no more. Okay, once that's all mixed, just put the mixture to the side and I'll take you through how to prepare your cake tin. Okay, I'm using a large tin because I want my Christmas cake to be quite large. However, I still know that I've made too much mixture for this one tin. So what I'll be doing is I'll be making a second cake for a friend for Christmas. They're a great present, so you could probably get 4 or 5 of these smaller tins out of that mixture, and there's no better Christmas present, especially homemade. So what you do to start with, you do have to line this tin. So this is where the Kofa comes in. I want you to melt roughly a half of that, so about 125 grams. Melt it in the microwave or in a saucepan, it's up to you, and then just paint the inside of this tin. This will make sure that the cake comes out easily. Also make sure that it's prevented from burning in the oven. So take your pastry brush, just dip it in the cofa and just very generously paint the bottom of the tin. Make sure you paint up around the sides as well. Take your baking paper, put your tin on top. This is doubled over, so there's going to be 2 layers, and draw a line around the tin and then cut the circles out. Just cut a little bit on the inside of the circle so that you get the right size that will fit neatly into the bottom. Once you've cut out that baking paper, put the first layer in. Just push it down so that it sits nice and flat. Then do another layer of the cofa paint. Then you need to line the sides. And what I do for the sides is I get a strip of baking paper and I fold it over into thirds. That's about the height you need it for your cake pan. And then I simply slot that inside the tin. Okay, so that's your lined cake tin. What you do now is you just add the cake mixture to the tin and try to press it down as you go, just to fill up any little gaps or spaces that might happen as a result of the fruit moving. Try to make it as flat as you can on the bottom of the cake especially, because that will become the top of your cake when you're going to ice it, and you don't want too many dents in that. Okay, when you've finished putting the cake mixture in the cake tin, it should be as flat as possible over the top, because that is going to be the base of your cake, and you don't want a wonky cake. You don't want to have to level it. However, sometimes against all of our best intentions it comes out a little bit crooked, and we do have to slice a small bit off the bottom in order to make it flat. Okay, so now that it's ready to be baked, this is the exciting part. It's going to take about 3.5 hours for the large cake and about 2.5 hours for the small cake, because I bake my cake at 120 degrees Celsius. Now that's a very low oven, but I do that to prevent burning and to make the cake retain some of the moisture. Okay, I don't want a cake that's crispy on the outside and still yucky on the inside. So here we go. So I'll see you in about 3.5 hours. You'll know when your fruitcake is ready, because when you insert a knife into the middle of the fruitcake, it'll come out completely clean like that. That means your fruitcake is completely cooked. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold the paper over like that. And completely turn the tin over. You're not going to remove that tin. Instead, you're going to cover it with a towel and leave it to cool down completely. It might take overnight. And tomorrow, just leave the baking paper on it and completely wrap the cake in 3 or 4 layers of alfoil or tin foil, and then wrap that in several layers of Glad wrap or cling wrap, and you can store that cake for up to 6 months.